Welcome to this LibreOffice Calc lesson on database functions. Database functions treat a table as a database. DSUM, DCOUNT, DAVERAGE are the ones I'm going to demonstrate. They work much like the equivalent sum, count, and average functions, but they're much more versatile. For example, suppose you needed to get the totals for 2 or more employees out of a table of sales. This would be a situation where you would use DSUM. DSUM takes 3 parameters. The first is the entire table, headers and all. The second parameter is the column number, where the values you want to add are located, counting from the left. The final parameter is the criteria. The criteria is located in a separate table, and the headers in the criteria table must match the headers in the table you're searching. In this example, I've got a table with employees and sales figures, and here I set up a criteria table with the names of the employees I'm looking up. The header employee matches in the 2 tables. That's important. So now for the formula. Click E2 and type equals DSUM, press enter, drag and highlight the entire table, headers and all, from A1 to C10. Then a comma. The next parameter is the column with the values to add. This is column C, the third column from the left, so type 3. A comma. Next is the criteria, which is the criteria table, including the header. So drag and highlight from A12 to A14. Press enter for the result. It's also possible to do this using some ifs, but it's a much more complicated formula. This is what it would look like. DSUM is definitely the better way to go when you're looking up more than one employee in this situation. The way it works is the rows in a DSUM criteria table are OR criteria. The values will be added in the sales field if it finds one or the other employee in the rows of the criteria table. All the database functions work like this. So for a count of how many sales these employees made, use DCOUNT. It has the same parameters in the same order as DSUM. Into E4, type equals DCOUNT. Press enter. First parameter is the table. Drag from A1 to C10, comma. Next is the column, which is 3. Then a comma. Then the criteria table. Drag and highlight A12 to A14. Press enter. And there's the count. To get the average sales for these employees, use DAVERAGE. Same parameters, same order. I could make the formula the same way, but this time I'll show you something a bit different. Since I'm not using the date column at all in these examples, there's really no need to have it in the formula. So I could just use the employee and sales column. And for the second parameter, use a 2 because it would be the second column from the left. Here's how it would work. In cell C6, type equals DAVERAGE. Press enter. Drag and highlight the employee and sales columns, B1 to C10. A comma. Then column number 2. A comma, drag and highlight A12 to A14. Press enter. This will give you exactly the same answer you would have got if you included the date column. And if you had a really huge table of data, it might execute a bit faster. Here's another example of how you can use D functions with multiple criteria. For example, I want the totals for the same 2 employees, but this time I want only their sales figures over $7,000 between the dates 3/15 and 3/17. columns in DFunctions represent AND criteria. It will add the value in the sales field if the amount is over $7,000 and more than or equal to $315 and less than or equal to $317. So this is how I set up the table. The columns can be in a different order so long as the headers match exactly. I have to make 2 date columns to contain the criteria for the 2 dates I'm using. So now for the formula. Click cell E2, type equals DSUM, press enter. First parameter is the table. A1 to C10 again, comma. The second parameter is column 3, a comma. Finally, the criteria table, A12 to D14. Press enter. So that's how you mix and or criteria. The rows are or criteria, the columns are and criteria. Employee Bill Hadley or Sheila Ford, and sales more than 7,000, and date more than or equal to 315, and date less than or equal to 317. There are many more DFunctions you can use in Calc. They all take the same parameters and work the same way. Dmax and dmin find the maximum and minimum values. DCOUNT A will give you a count of all the non-empty cells. Then these two are for standard deviations. Well, that's it for this time. Thanks for watching.